Advisory. Some episodes of the 1836 podcast are not intended for all audiences due to details that might be considered disturbing. Listener and viewer discretion is advised.
This episode of the 1836 podcast shares the life of Friedrich Gerstäcker, a German-born adventurer whose gripping tales captured his bold Arkansas frontier experiences, ferocious bear attacks, thrilling bear hunts, and best-selling books that brought Arkansas's untamed spirit to Europe. Around 1892, near Mountain Home in Baxter County, Arkansas, a black bear attacked some children that were outside playing at a rural homestead. The victims, young children of unknown ages and genders, suffered a tragic fate. 2 were killed and 1 was severely injured during the mauling. Neighbors rushed to help, but there wasn't much they could do. This incident in 1892 was the last known documented fatal bear attack in Arkansas, until recently. Let's fast forward 133 years later, until now. On September 3rd, 2025, in Franklin County, near Mulberry Mountain, a 72-year-old man was operating a tractor, laying gravel for a trail when a juvenile black bear attacked him unprovoked. He sustained severe injuries and passed away 11 days later on September 14th. Then, just a few weeks later, around October 1st in Newton County, at Sam's Throne Campground near Mount Judy, Arkansas, a 60-year-old man was solo camping when a black bear likely mauled him. His body was found on October 2nd with signs of a violent struggle and drag marks into the woods. These shocking fatalities, struck just a month apart, remind us that the wild remains unpredictable, even today. Arkansas's wilderness has long been a stage for dramatic encounters with black bears, including some unforgettable attacks that highlight the raw dangers of the frontier. Some of the most harrowing and fatal surrounded a German adventurer named Friedrich Gerstäcker. One attack happened in the Hurricane Creek area of northern Crawford County, likely sometime between 1838 and 1840. The victim of this attack was a young hunter known as young Erskine, possibly a 20-something-year-old English immigrant. While pursuing a massive mother bear and her cubs, Erskine fired at her from close range, but only wounded her. The enraged bear charged, mauling his throat and face before he could reload and kill her with a final shot. Erskine's friend, Friedrich Gerstäcker, and the rest of their hunting companions later discovered his mangled body and buried him nearby. Gerstäcker described the gruesome scene in vivid detail and immortalized the tragedy in a book he published years later, turning it into a gripping tale of frontier peril. Gerstacker's account of that fatal bear mauling could fill a whole episode on its own, not to mention the bear attack he himself encountered. But for this episode, let's talk about the man that lived it and wrote it, the man behind the story, Gerstäcker himself. I first learned about Gerstäcker through Clay Newcomb's Bear Grease podcast, a must-listen for anyone into wild outdoor stories, especially if you're an Arkansan. Friedrich Wilhelm Christian Gerstäcker was born on May 10, 1816, in Hamburg, Germany. He embodied the restless spirit of the American frontier. Gerstacker's path to the frontier started young, shaped by his parents, famous opera singers whose European tours ignited his love for the open road and travel. When his father died of tuberculosis in 1825, the family's stability shattered, and they moved to Braunschweig to stay with relatives. As a teenager, Gerstäcker hated his dull merchant apprenticeship and castle, finding solace instead in adventure books by James Fenimore Cooper and Daniel Defoe. At the age of 19, he fixed his eyes on America, fantasizing about farming on the edge of civilization. But his practical mother made him learn agricultural skills first, pushing back his plans. Finally, in 1837, at the age of 21, he sailed to New York on a ship called the Constitution, fueled by a craving for freedom and the great unknown. Arkansas wasn't his first stop, but its wild pool soon drew him in. After odd jobs as a carpenter and a clerk in New York and Philadelphia, he headed south, lured by tales of plentiful game and endless land. He hit Arkansas in early 1838, spending 3 months hunting along the Little Red River while firing steamboats on the Arkansas River. The raw thrill of it all kept him coming back. From May 1839 to February 1840, he roamed Poinsett, St. Francis, and Independence counties as a trapper and laborer. A quick hunting jaunt in August 1840 took him to the Cache River and Bayou de View. But his real deep dive came between 1841 and 1842, where he hunkered down for a year and a half along the Fourche Lefebvre River in Perry and Yell counties and Mulberry Creek in Madison County. The state's lawless stretches, dense woods, and fierce independence suited a guy escaping Europe's rigid ways perfectly. Gerstacker's time there was a whirlwind of risks, finds, and raw human grit. A crack shot, he stalked deer, turkeys, and bears through the Ozarks and river valleys. In December of 1841, he teamed up with a buddy and a settler family to harvest bears. Their hides and oil were pure frontier treasure. Dangers lurked everywhere: venomous snakes, raging floods, and the wildlife. His closest call was a savage tussle with a huge black bear, where he knifed it over and over until it turned on him, mauling him badly and knocking him out cold amid his dead hounds. Beyond the hunts, Gerstacker soaked up the social side of the frontier. Vigilante regulators dishing out rough justice to horse thieves, wild 4th of July bashes where women layered up in fancy clothes, and lone squatters grinding corn with horse mills. It all sketched a picture of a free but fragile democracy. He jotted it all down in a journal and fired off letters back home to his mom in Germany, spilling the details. In 1843, Gerstacker finally headed back to Germany. There, he hit instant fame as a writer. Unbeknownst to him, his mom had been sneaking his letters back home to a local paper, and they were published and blew up overnight. Germans snapped up his wild adventure stories like he was their very own Davy Crockett or Daniel Boone, a real-life frontier hero straight from the pages. But what set Gerstacker apart from those real-life action hero legends like Crockett and Boone was his blend of raw experiences and sharp Mark Twain-like storytelling. His adventures as a hunter and storyteller in the backwoods of Arkansas captured the rugged beauty and brutal challenges and echoed Mark Twain's style, but with a fiercer and more hands-on edge. Where Twain crafted witty, satirical tales from the banks of the Mississippi, Gerstacker threw himself into the heart of the wilderness, armed with a hunter's instinct and a wanderer's endless drive. He didn't just write about the dangers, he lived them. From knife-scarred fights to unflinching accounts that connected Europe's old world to America's new one. Like Twain, he nailed the frontier's magnetic pull and its dark underbelly in stories that defined the era. But Gerstacker's European outsider's view and all-out bravery made him a standout, a one-of-a-kind writer whose tales about Arkansas's untamed core still hit hard today. Yet his audacious, boots-on-the-ground grit and fresh perspective from across the Atlantic made him a true original, bringing America's wild side to global readers with a narrative punch. His 1844 book, Wanderings and Hunts in the United States of North America, also called Wild Sports in the Far West in 1845, became a smash hit, painting Arkansas's frontier in living color. In a later reprint of this book, one standout image is the 1859 illustration, The Fatal Bear Hunt. Crafted by artist Harrison Weir, it freezes Gerstacker's brutal bear fight, nailing that split-second dance with death. As one of the book's 8 illustrations, it sums up the gut-punching intensity of his stories and has become a favorited work of art on its own. His 1845 novel, The Regulators in Arkansas, turned the vigilante scenes he'd seen into high-stakes drama, mixing thrills with jabs at the chaos. It even inspired a 1964 West German movie called Die Goldsucher von Arkansas. Over his life, he cranked out about 70 books and tons of sketches, many pulling from Arkansas and the Ozarks, like The Mississippi Builder in 1847 and The River Pirates of the Mississippi in 1848. His fascinating but real takes sparked a wave of German folks heading to America. In fact, if you've got German roots in your family tree, especially tied to Arkansas or the frontier, there's a solid chance Gerstacker's wild tales played a part in luring your ancestors across the Atlantic. He later returned to America for the 1849 California Gold Rush and an 1867 revisit to Arkansas, which fed more tales for another book called New Travels in North America in 1868. In 1860, His wife died, leaving behind their 3 children. A second marriage in 1863 added 2 more. Back in Europe, he found work as a war correspondent in the Franco-Prussian War. After a rocky personal road, Gerstacker's life ended as dramatic as he lived it. A heated argument with a lawman over a property dispute sparked a fatal stroke. Gerstacker passed away on May 31, 1872, in Braunschweig at the age of 56. He's buried in Braunschweig's Magna Friedhof Cemetery, resting in the ground he once roamed. Arkansas recognized him as an honorary citizen in 1957 and in 1986 when future President and then Governor of Arkansas, Bill Clinton, declared May 10th as Friedrich Gerstäcker Day, honoring his spot-on capture of the state's early spirit.